I went from struggling to make $100 per month consistently to making over $1,200 per day in my consulting business. So what made such a big difference? Because I didn't work harder. Instead, I started to work much smarter with the 7 productivity hacks I'm going to share with you in this video. Most people are spinning their wheels. They work a lot. They feel like they're busy, but they're making minimal progress. And I know because I used to be there too. So let me take you back to where it all started. A few years ago, I was the typical hustle more entrepreneur. I would wake up early, like around 5 a.m., sometimes even earlier than that, and I would spend hours perfecting my morning routine. And then I would work pretty much all day, and I would still struggle to find customers, even though I was working really hard. And so I was busy, exhausted, and to be honest with you, I was broke. So I knew that something had to change. I was doing something wrong. And the first breakthrough actually came when I realized that my 3-hour-long morning routine was killing my productivity. And while it felt good to meditate, to journal, to go for a run, to eat my breakfast, all of these activities were actually wasting my most optimal brain power that I could have instead used to just do the most difficult tasks I needed to do in my business, the tasks that would directly make me money. I know that online you hear about these millionaire morning routines or these billionaire morning routines, but they can follow a very different schedule than you when you're just getting started and trying to make your first 5 to 10K per month. And that's exactly why the first hack I want to share with you to increase your productivity is to just ditch the 3-hour-long morning routine and instead get straight to work. So I completely restructured my mornings. So now, instead of having this long, complex morning routine, I just take about 15 to 20 minutes to freshen myself up. I make myself a cup of tea, and then I do an hour to an hour and a half of deep work, focusing on the most important and the most difficult tasks I need to complete for the day. So I'm not checking my emails, I'm not browsing social media. I just focus on the execution of the few activities that will move the needle forward in my business, make me more money, and improve my life in general. And when you start doing this, the results are not only immediate, but they're also shocking. So around the first week of me starting to do that, I implemented a brand new sales funnel and I signed 2 new high-ticket customers. My brain was simply just sharper, more creative, and more solution-oriented during the first hours of the day. It was much easier to focus without any distractions. And so I was leveraging my cognitive prime, so to speak, instead of wasting it on other tasks. Now, unfortunately, we're not allowed to share everything on YouTube, which is why I've recorded a free video to show you how I made over $1,000 a day in profit from my laptop. And right now, we're also offering a few free consultation calls with me or my team to help you come up with a game plan to reach financial freedom in 90 days or less using the PTP method. Now, I highly suggest you click the link in the description below when you're done watching this video. But be quick, because spots fill up extremely fast and soon we'll be forced to take the video down. The next hack I'd like to share with you is to identify the 20% of activities that give you 80% of your results and to double down on those. I spent a full day auditing everything I was doing in my business. So I looked at every product, every task, everything I was doing, and I tried to see whether these activities were actually wasting my time or making me money. And what I found is that the data wasn't lying. Honestly, it was even a bit embarrassing. Only 4 activities were actually driving my business's growth, creating targeted content to attract my ideal customers and to position myself as an authority within my market, directly reaching out to my leads, taking sales calls, and delivering amazing results for my customers. So literally everything else, tweaking my website for the 100th time, or like finding a new logo, or working on tweaking my funnel, like all of these little things, they were irrelevant, so I stopped doing them completely. Because these activities were just keeping me busy without actually increasing my income. And so once I identified my high leverage activities, I removed everything else and I doubled down on those. So I went from spending 20% of time on the activities that made me the most money to 80% of my time. And the impact was actually insane. My income significantly increased and it keeps increasing every month. But even with these methods I shared with you, to be honest, sometimes I found myself distracted during my work sessions. Which brings me to the next hack. Use technology to protect your focus instead of destroying it. Social media and digital distractions were costing me hours of my time every single day. And the worst part is, I didn't even realize it was happening in the first place. A quick check of Instagram would turn into a 30-minute scrolling session. I mean, come on, don't pretend it never happened to you. A YouTube search for a specific tutorial would lead me down the rabbit hole of consuming content mindlessly. So I installed apps and Chrome extensions like Unhook or like Freedom to prevent myself from being distracted by blocking out newsfeed and distracting websites. So for example, with Unhook on YouTube, I could hide the feed, I could hide the homepage and everything, even the comments, even the description of the videos, literally everything. So instead, it allowed me to look at exactly what I wanted to look at and not be distracted by the comments, the recommended videos, the homepage, etc. And tools like Freedom allowed me to completely block my social media during the hours I wanted to do my deep work. And so ever since implementing these, the results were profound. Tasks that previously took me 3 hours to complete, I was able to do them in 1 hour. The quality of my content improved because I was able to stay focused during the content creation process. I've been growing subs fast on my channel, the fastest it's ever been right now. And that's part of the reason why. But most importantly, I regained control over my attention span and I stopped letting algorithms from social media platforms dictate how I should spend my time, because it's my most valuable asset. Now the truth is, this newfound productivity hack actually made me question the work-life balance. You have to understand that balance is a myth, which is why hack number 4 is to embrace periods of strategic intensity. Let me explain what I mean. The conventional wisdom that we need to have this perfect work-life balance was actually keeping me stuck, preventing me from growing my business. Because I discovered I made significantly more progress, I made more money, I had a bigger impact when I was just focusing exclusively on work for set periods of time, and then of course allowing myself some recovery by taking some days off, instead of just trying to mix the two. Like for example, working 8 hours a day and then having 3 hours of leisure time to watch Netflix or play video games or do other things. So usually, I work pretty intensely for about 6 to 14 days, and then I give myself 1 to 2 days off where I can do anything I want guilt-free. That way, I don't risk burning out because I'm not working 24/7. And even if you love what you do, sometimes you need to rest. You need to take time away from work, because if you're always thinking about the same thing, past a certain point, you hit what we call the point of diminishing returns. The quality of your work and your focus starts to drop. So ideally, you want to take a rest day right before this happens. That way you maximize your work time, your efficiency, while never burning out. And that's how you make progress so much faster. That's how you build a 6-7 figure business faster than everybody else. So during my work sprints, I am 100% focused on growing my business. Nothing else matters. And during my recovery days, as much as possible, I completely disconnect. No emails, no social media, nothing work related. And this approach actually harnesses a very powerful psychological principle. When you're deeply engaged in solving business problems, you might not realize this, but your subconscious mind is always working on finding a solution to those problems in the background. But that only ever happens if you've previously been heavily immersed in your work. Because if you spend your days scattered between work and entertainment, your brain gets fragmented. You will find yourself thinking about the plot of your Netflix show or about the problems that you're facing in your video game. And then your brain will start to find solutions for these things, instead of finding solutions to help you to grow your business. So when you set clear boundaries between work and rest, your subconscious mind will become your greatest ally to help you to solve problems in your business and to 10x your income. And ever since I've been implementing this strategy, I have noticed insane results. So I regularly wake up on my rest days with new breakthrough ideas because I've given my brain time to process it. But even with these very intense periods of work, I discovered yet another optimization I could do to significantly improve my productivity, which is why hack number 5 is to find your chronotype and to align the tasks that you do with your peaks and troughs in energy levels. We've all been fed the myth that successful people have to wake up at 5 a.m. But the truth is actually far more nuanced. Your chronotype, which is basically your body's natural energy patterns throughout the day, it's mostly genetic. So trying to find it will actually be counterproductive. Why not use it and benefit from it instead? So I discovered I am a lion chronotype, meaning I have the most amount of energy in the early morning, in the afternoon it drops, and then I have a small peak in energy in the early evenings. So once I understood this pattern and I analyzed it, I completely restructured my workday to fit it. So I schedule my most complex, my most creative work during the early mornings. And in the afternoon, I'm doing admin tasks, I'm taking calls, things that don't require as much energy. And in the early evenings, I can be taking client calls or just planning different strategies to grow my business. This has worked the best for me so far. So I was able to reduce my work hours by about 30% while increasing my outputs, my results. But the key is self-awareness. I invite you to track your energy, your mood, and your focus levels throughout the day for an entire week. Look for patterns, and then restructure your days to actually take advantage of your peaks and troughs in energy levels. Most people don't even do this. Now, unfortunately, we're not allowed to share everything on YouTube, which is why I've recorded a free video to show you how I made over $1,000 a day in profit from my laptop. And right now, we're also offering a few free consultation calls with me or my team to help you come up with a game plan to reach financial freedom in 90 days or less using the PTP method. Now, I highly suggest you click the link in the description below when you're done watching this video. But be quick, because spots fill up extremely fast and soon we'll be forced to take the video down. Now, the next hack I would like to share with you is to master emotional regulation, because what I really want you to understand is that stress and fear are productivity killers. The most underrated productivity skill is not a time management technique or a hack, it's emotional regulation. Because when you're stressed, fearful, or anxious, your brain's prefrontal cortex, which is basically responsible for complex decision making and creative problem solving, it gets hijacked by your amygdala, which is the primitive fear center. So I implemented several practices to regulate my emotional state during the day. First, I created an emergency fund with 6 months worth of savings, and that allowed me to drastically reduce my anxiety. And then I also incorporated brief mindfulness practices in between tasks to just recenter myself in the present moment and to just calm my emotions down. For example, before a call, if you're nervous, just take some time to take some deep breaths, to relax your body, to take control of your nervous system. Now, the impact on my business was significant. My decision-making improved substantially. I stopped making fear-driven choices that were prioritizing for short-term comfort instead of long-term growth. So I took more risks. I made more of the difficult decisions and I grew my business faster. My sales conversations became more effective because I was present and focused and grounded instead of being anxious or thinking about 10,000 different things. All of these hacks put together actually created some kind of compound effect. Now, the seventh habit I'd like to share with you is to create systems that force productive behavior, not just productive thinking. Motivation is unreliable, discipline is limited. So the true secret, if you actually want to be more productive, it's to create an environment where the tasks that you need to do become the easiest in the world. So in order to make productivity the path of least resistance, I redesigned my office. I literally removed all of the unnecessary apps and folders on my computer. I removed social media apps from my phone. I removed distractions. During my deep work blocks, my phone is on airplane mode or in a drawer. Right now it's on airplane mode somewhere in my drawer. And I also use a list of tasks. That way, I know exactly what I need to do and when I need to do it, and I plot it inside of my calendar. I also invested in softwares, in apps, in coaching to help me to stay accountable and to help me to gain the knowledge I needed to scale my business further. So these hacks I shared with you, they didn't just increase my productivity. They helped me to make significantly more money. I went from struggling to make a few $100s per month to making over $1,200 per day while working less. And if you're actually serious about making more money, becoming financially free, right now I'm offering free strategy calls where together we'll come up with a game plan for you to get to $10,000 per month and even beyond as quickly as possible. But be quick because our limited spots fill up extremely quickly. The links will be in the description below. And with that being said, I will see you on the other side.